Are we really doing this? Like, are we really doing this? Are we really doing this? Are we really doing that? But with this? I mean, 2 new reports, and somehow we are still in the dual screen zone. Maybe? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? We got to figure it out. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Got my DSi, got my 3DS, got my soon-to-be switcheroo too. I don't know. New Taiwanese economic news report and Christopher Dring tweet have sent me into a spiral all about 2 screens. I don't think it makes any sense, but would Nintendo take a risk in order to really make sure you know that this thing is twice as good? What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Hit that like button if you enjoy these videos and are excited to see what Nintendo does next. This is so quaint, by the way. Like, man, gaming systems when they were this size, dude, like, this is huge. I love the big screen. There's a part of me that's like, man, this was the move. Dude, it just takes me back. It's a simpler system for a simpler time. Life was simpler for me. I was not an adult. I did not have a home that I had to maintain. I did not have financial worries. I just had this cool TL Blue system that had a camera for me to do 3D, no, not 3D, for me to do 2D face game. I don't know. There was some game with this. I don't even remember. I think I need to charge this up. Can I even boot this? It's out of battery. But what's not out of battery is the idea that the Switch has 2 screens. The Taiwanese Taiwan Economic Daily News reports that the Switch 2 will have a dual screen design. They say that the speculation is that the Switch 2 screen is going to be enlarged and have a 2 screen design. How? Are we talking like a flip-flop, like a clamshell? Are we talking like a slide out? Are we talking like a front and back? Front and back would be bizarre as heck. Front and back for multiplayer, though, like you and your brother just hold it like this. He's got the controllers here. You got the controllers here. You're like, no, tilt it, no. I don't see how this works out. This has reemerged as a thing again because of this report stating that the Switch 2 is going to have 2 screens. It's going to have battery life increase. It's going to have better performance, better processing, and it's going to have AI functionality, and it's going to be $400. First of all, I don't see how you charge $400 for a system that has 2 screens. It's already going to be costing more because it's more powerful, but $400 for a 2-screen system doesn't seem likely. It seems like Nintendo wants to keep the price at a reasonable place, and 2 screens seems to really up the ante. But alas, even though I try to shut this down, I try to say there's no 2-screen design, Chris Dring had to tweet this just a little bit ago. This guy was talking about the Switch 2 is arguably the most exciting thing at the moment because no one has any idea how you'd even begin to top the Switch. Screen was decent, battery life was fine, make it smaller, I don't know. That's from a guy who's written articles, IGN, VG247, Heavy.com, etc. Chris Dring has the audacity to say, screen is decent, but I feel there wasn't enough of them. Christopher, what are you doing to me? Are we trying to really get this back in the fray? Is Chris Dring just really sad that the DS and 3DS era is over, that Nintendo's portable play has been completely pushed into their home console era? Or does he know something we don't know? Why is he hinting at 2 screens the same time that we see this Taiwan Economic Daily News report about 2 screens? Are we really going back to this? Again, it worked great for the handhelds. I don't get how it works for a home console. And I've told you this before, the main problem, and it's the same problem that the Wii U had, but it's a problem that the 3DS and the DS didn't have. And that problem is other games not made by Nintendo. So look, the DS and the 3DS were so popular that they could get away with forcing companies to take advantage of their 2-screen design. There weren't like, it wasn't like first-party DS games use both screens, and then third-party DS games were like, nah, because everybody was making bespoke software for this system because it was so successful, it was so popular, and it was so profitable. You put out a little game, you sell it for $34.99, and a million plus people are buying it. Boom, you're good to go. I don't know how that works in a home console because we've seen it fail with the Wii U. The Wii U tried to do this cool, nifty 2-screen idea. It didn't work out. You could not get third parties on board because nobody was really taking advantage of it. The Wii U was technologically inferior, and everybody just wanted to make easier games on other platforms. Now we've got the Switch. is Nintendo arrogant enough to think that because the Switch 1 was so successful, the Switch 2 can do two? The Switch 2 can get third parties to just go in and make games that are dedicated to the two-screen idea? Because to me, the part of the Switch 2 that was supposed to be so great, and it is supposed to be so great, is the improved power, which would allow Nintendo to capitalize on all these third parties that would love to get their games on Switch, but maybe didn't trust the Switch power, maybe couldn't even develop for the Switch power without spinning off a separate port. And you want to have games be easy to make so that people can put out the next Far Cry on every platform. People can just easily bring their game to your system without needing a separate port job. We don't want to hit the magic button from these studios that did a great job, right, of making things happen. They hit the panic button and say, oh, they're going to make the port, because that does cause third parties to panic. It's more time consuming, it's more money, it's more difficult. A dual screen design does all of that again. It makes it more difficult to move your game to Switch because you have to take advantage of two screens. Unless, two things. We're going to diverge our paths. Stop talking about it not happening. What if it actually is happening? Nintendo could do this if they're just drunk on their own success. If they really think that, hey, we made it work in this era, we can make it work in this era, we did it, everybody made games, and this was so great, we sold so many, we'll make games, we'll show people how to get it done, and we'll do it. Drunk on their own success, I do not think is a good route. The only route that I see viable is if when they say two-screen technology, dual screen, we're not thinking of it right. To me, this is dual screen technology, clamshell. You've got two screens that you use. What if two screens isn't that? One idea we've heard before and has been rumored is this idea that two screens is merely the Switch itself and then your TV. That somehow there's a way to do dual screen gaming, but you're like streaming your system to your TV. If this is the feature, then I could see Nintendo utilizing it as a gimmick and telling third parties, like, you don't have to do it. You don't have to use it. You don't have to make a game that uses this streaming. I don't really know what that would be about. I don't really know how that would benefit your game. It basically sounds like Wii U, and then it makes the Switch so like, okay, there's a certain set of features of these games that you can't take portably because you need the two screens. You need a TV, unless you're going to belt a TV to you with some humongous machination, some gigantic steel rig. It's not going to happen. I think that seems silly. Is there another way, though, that you could construct two screens? Like I said, front and back, like a multiplayer thing. Is the Switch 2 for two players? It sounds ridiculous, but Nintendo's been ridiculous before. Could they do two screens in a different way? Could you slide out a screen? I don't know what the second screen would be for if not for the games. And if the second screen is for the games, I think it's a terrible move. I don't think Nintendo is in a position where they would make that mistake again. It worked fine for these portable platforms because they were simply portable platforms. They didn't need to compete because they had their own games library. The Switch is trying to share libraries. The Switch is trying to have libraries that share with PlayStation, that share with Xbox. I just can't see how a two-screen system works in this context, in this time, in this era. How does it work? But why does it keep popping up? Why do people think that two screens would make sense? How would it work? I just don't see it. If it did, it would be super cool. I would love to have this clamshell, but at the same time, I think I would hate it. I think I would hate it because part of the beauty of the Switch is part of the same beauty as the Steam Deck, is part of the same beauty as any of those portable PCs. It's like it's there. It's this beautiful screen. You snap on your Joy-Con or you snap on your fixture and your Pro Controller and you get to play. You don't have to flip it up. It's not cumbersome. It's not extra thick. It's not extra expensive. And I think that comes back to one of my first points, like how do you make this system affordable at a two-screen model? Nintendo would probably make a lot more money selling it for less with one screen and then racking up the game software sales. Selling it for less with one screen and then racking up the DLC sales, the Switch Online sales, the indie game eShop sales. I don't see how two screens behooves Nintendo in any way. And if it's because there's this feel that they need to make a gimmick, do they need to make a gimmick? They found the ultimate gimmick. Look, most of these other consoles, when they go to the next issue, the next iteration, they don't make a major gimmick. It's not like then all of a sudden, oh, the PS5 has wings strapped to it. I mean, it's gigantic and looks like an alien artifact, but that's beside the point. It's not a new gimmick. The controller might have a gimmick, and Nintendo can implement interesting things in their Joy-Con 2.0, but we don't need a gimmick. That has been a Nintendo thing, that there is this gimmick attached to it. It's 3D, it's two screens, it's got a gamepad, it's got, what was the GameCube gimmick? That one didn't really have a gimmick. That was an okay system. The N64, I guess, brought in 64. That was a good gimmick. The Switch 2's gimmick can be that it can just play all these games with better graphics. Maybe this rumor mongering, maybe all of these things about two screens just spawned from the desire, like the initial tweet said. What are they going to do? How can they make it better? And maybe the only way they can make it better is just by literally making it better. Maybe they don't need to add anything on top of it. If they do, I'll be blown away. I'll be surprised. I will trust Nintendo and I'll hope that they do it right. But I think the fact of the matter is that even though this is Nintendo, they've established such a good idea. They just need to iterate on that idea and make it more powerful in the same way that many other consoles exist. They just make the next one more powerful. The Switch 2, but more powerful, does make it better. The Switch 2, but with all those third-party games that you can only play on PlayStation or Xbox, does make it better. The Switch 2 with a better eShop does make it better. Like, a better Switch is better. I don't think the Switch is the pinnacle Switch. I think the Switch is phenomenal and the idea might be pinnacle, but the way that they execute upon it, it could be improved. And we don't need a new gimmick to make it exciting, to make it sizzle, to make people want to go out and spend on it. A better Switch with new exclusive Nintendo games and awesome performance that can play these titles from other platforms and franchises that typically Nintendo fans haven't had a chance to really dip their toes in, and maybe make it so you don't need a PlayStation or need an Xbox if you want to experience all the goodies. Like, imagine if you didn't need to buy a secondary console so you could play Elden Ring, so you could play Space Marine 2, so you could play Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's a pretty convincing proposition to me, and I think that would do enough for everybody else. Unless Nintendo's got a little bit of the crazy, their brain rot's taken over and they think we need two screens again. But let me know what you think. These things popping up make no sense to me. I mean, clearly there's a little bit of something to it, but I don't think there can be. I refuse to believe that it's a two-screen system. Hopefully we find out soon. Let me know what you think of Chris Dring's tweet. I'll point out before we end this video that Christopher Dring is also the dude that said after Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo had no big games left for Switch. And they actually did have a lot. They've released a lot of first-party titles, including the first new Switch up for a 2D Mario in eons. So maybe Chris Dring is just Delulu and really wants this to happen and is hopeful it would happen and wants more screens and doesn't really know or has heard a bad rumor. There could be a lot of that going around as Nintendo tries to snuff out leakers. Maybe they are purposely seeding out bad rumors. So Economic Daily News from Taiwan, I don't know what they're talking about, what they're smoking, why they think two screens, but I kind of think that would be maybe the most crazy thing to do with Switch 2, but potentially the downfall. What's your take? Let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Thanks so much for watching. SwitchForce, twice. Out.